Well, hello, I'm alone in Finland. This is EVE Online, and today we're actually going through a little bit of the autumn event that's going on at the moment. What am I looking for? Right, so with all of that being said, I am actually live playing, so this video might be weird and disjointed because that's what I'm like. But at the moment, we have this Harvest Festival thing going on. When you click into it, you will get the little events icon up, and then it'll ask you to choose a side. Now, it seems to have leveled out, but in the first days, for me, the Crimson Gauntlet places were not spawning, so the other side would have been better. However, it seems to have sort of milded out now, so that you can get both of them spawning at roughly the same time. But the idea is basically you've got these rewards that you can work through. You do have some skill points there, and you do have some plex. So you have about 100 plex in total if you can max out the bar. And then obviously you have to harvest battleships that are destroyed, you have to enter nodes, and then you have to destroy Relentless Ventures. Now, Relentless Ventures come in the smaller sites. The smaller sites are sized for either frigates and then destroyers, I think. And you'll sort of see biocide sites or things like that. When you jump in, there'll be a whole load of things to destroy. They have a maximum gate size on them, and honestly, you seem to be able to harvest them a little bit faster. But one of the big things that's going on is there's a lot of neuting going on in this, so it gets particularly dangerous. And that's why something Caldari or something Minmatar would be your best option, where you have got the sort of weapons, be it artillery or missiles, that you can kick out without any capacitor use. But at the same time, you want to make sure that your tank's strong enough, and it's best to put a cap battery on, because with the cap battery you do get this capacitor warfare resistance. So that's something to be aware of. You are going to get hit with nukes, and for the bigger sites, a battleship is better, and this is where it's become a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Not in what CCP has done, but actually in the player base, because normally, for those of you that don't play the game, when you warp into a site like this that's sort of open and within the probe scanner, what would normally happen is people will, if somebody warps in after you, they'll kind of go, oh, sorry, that was yours, and leave it. However, in this, people have been running them constantly. So if you're doing the bigger ones, then you're going to come up against Vargers, the best marauder for this because of the capacitor stability, especially against neuting. But people are just sort of running to the end loot and sort of sacrificing everything essentially to get there. And it's been kind of interesting, and I forgot to turn on my hardener, so my shield booster. But that should be fine. We're doing okay at the moment. So I'm just going to kill the neuters coming first. Remember, down here you can tell what is warp scrambling you, what is webbing, etc. I've got a few. Oh, I've got bonuses to shield stuff. That's nice. And then you can see that the two Harvest Sages, this is one of them. These are the guys that are actually neuting us out, but there are various ships, including the frigates, that will be doing some of the neuting. So you just have to sort of be aware of that. But it's an easy enough system to go through. It's not a particularly difficult thing. If you are hearing other sounds at the moment, my second client is actively mining, and some nuggets are trying to bounce me off the stuff at the moment in 9. If you happen to be out there and you're a ganker, there's a lot of miners in Nein, so Nein. There's a lot of miners that are constantly there and trolling every other miner. It is a big alliance, but if you are somebody who is inclined to jump into HiSec and pop people, just know that. I'm just saying. It's gotten to the point where I'm actually going to be moving all of my stuff out of that system, because these guys they're truly awful. Like, they are just constantly, they've got 2 ships running bump constantly to try and get people away from the resources, as if it's going to make much difference. But yeah, so this is the standard harvest one as well. You have the Crimson Gauntlet is the one that I'm running at the same time. I can't remember the name of the other one, I am sorry. But we've got 17 days left as of, it is Sunday the 19th of of October, so we have 17 days left until this is over, so a little bit into November. By the 5th, is that right? I think something along those dates it'll be gone. And we do have some nice stuff that will come from it. So you've got a few gifts. We're obviously a few days in, so you might not be able to get them all at this point. But there is some stuff that's going on in Eve, so always nice. I'm a bit late to this because I've been on courses and I've been not particularly well. I got one of those beautiful aura migraines the other day that is the type that just sort of flashes your eyesight out. And as you can see, I'm just distracted from everything at the moment. I am just so lacking sleep that it is phenomenal. But yeah, I got one of these particular migraines that was sort of blinding one of my eyes, and it was actually causing it to flicker on and off like a broken, what you call it, like a broken monitor. And now, having done this, I'm paying attention to the evil stuff that's on my second screen, because bumpers, bots, all of that jazz. But yeah, this is a nice sort of thing. You can run it fairly casual. Tech 3s are a solid way to do it. And as you can tell me going backwards and forwards, I'm really not paying attention. The Loki is a good ship for this in general if you just want to casually do it. It doesn't kill it the fastest, but it does have the ability to tank both the damage and the capacitor warfare. However, what I would suggest for this, one of the bigger things is if you are going somewhere, the easiest way to find these sites is to stay off of trade routes. So that would be routes between the high-sec trade systems. If you're in null-sec, this won't really apply to you. They're spawning out there and they are all over the place. However, if you're in high-sec and you are doing this, one of the things that I would say is set a route to whichever sort of trade system you're looking at, and then look at where you can go around about. So for instance here I've got to go this way, so what I'd actually do is I would say set destination for here, then add a waypoint here and sort of jump around about, and follow another route up that's sort of parallel, staying off of the main trade system. And this will keep you out of the main population area, and obviously that gives you a higher spawn rate for the external things. This also works just if you're doing anomalies and I have entirely forgotten cosmic signatures as well. Staying off of the main trade routes will also get you a faster spawn, and if you are around about any of the sort of ganking hubs, just be careful. There's all sorts of crap going on. I was in one the other day which was just fantastic, where somebody was stealing the site from me and a whole load of destroyers came in to pop one of us, and because he had been keeping the site, trying to steal the site from me, I was actually dragging the entities away. So I'd sort of just tacked up and headed sort of north, and I was pulling some of the entities with me. So when the destroyers jumped in, they saw him first and they popped him, and then there was a cargo ship there, something to grab all the loot, and they just disappeared. They left me alone. So I actually finished the site and was just giggling my head off, but unfortunately not sort of following this stuff. But if we are having a look, let me just put in, where's my main trade hub? I always just do it this way, so add a waypoint to there. Yeah, Udema, that's the main one. Around about here, within 4 or 5 jumps of Udema, be very, very careful. There's a lot of nastiness going on around about there, because there always is nastiness, and that's just the area, but just be aware of that. So with that being said, we're going to pop this one. Now, this sort of holds true in both of the versions of this, because the what you call it, the other side of this, it'll probably pop up on my scanner. Let me check my other scanner. Nope. But oh Jesus, he's done it again. I've been bounced off of the, on my other screen I've been bounced off of a roid so badly that I'm actually over 100 kilometers away from it. So yes, we can jump through here now. and the two sites for the big ones are roughly the same, where when you jump you will encounter a wave of enemies. You clear that, then you can take the acceleration gate. If you get the key, you'll be able to use the secure one and jump to the end. But otherwise we have this intermediate one. Now with this intermediate one, the gate will stay locked until you've killed the first wave, sometimes a little bit of the second wave as well. So you can clear them all out, but honestly the loot that's in these ones is just negligible. I have not had anything from it worth over 800,000. And even at that, it was just a few of them. So I wouldn't even bother looting them. That's why I'm using the smaller ship. But at the same time that we've got that sort of going on, the other side of this is once you've cleared a wave and a half, you should be able to just activate this gate and sort of bounce away from the previous ones. You'll notice that I'm not using any of my drones, and the reason for that is these entities just slaughter the drones. They almost immediately target them. So it's just not really worth it. So please bear that in mind as you go. All sizes may vary, but this is something that's sort of the experience I've got at the moment. And as you can see, because I'm managing the two clients, I'm just all over the place, and you might be able to hear it, but my head is dying on me. So there we have, a second wave has spawned in while I'm still killing the first one. And this can be a little bit of a problem. It can start getting overwhelming, but that's not a big sort of issue for this particular fit. Let's see, has the acceleration gate opened up yet? Yeah. So I'm just going to target the neuters first, because it's always best practice. I did at one point get 2 spawns at the same time, plus, well, technically 3 spawns, because the battleship came in at the same time on the third area, and it was putting in interesting cap pressure on. I think I was down at like 32-33%. For those of you wondering, the fit that I'm running at the moment, so obviously we have heavy assault missile launchers. I've got an expanded probe launcher just because, and then I'm running Dreadgarista's large shield booster. However, you can do this with a large shield booster. You don't need to spend the extra money on it. And if you are going in the sort of the more dangerous areas of high sec, i.e. Ganker's Paradise, then I would recommend just sticking to the standard large shield booster. I'm only running this because I had this in my cargo when I was building this up. I've got a Republic large cap battery. These are not that expensive, so I would recommend going with them over the Tech 2, and obviously it will sort of free up a bit of fitting space. And then just afterburner, multi-spectral shield booster, some ballistic control systems, then some missile guidance enhancers, so that we're getting that smaller signature radius as we're hitting stuff, because obviously, as you can see here, there is quite a few of the smaller things kicking about that we need to give a good thumping to, and the drones are entirely useless. I put them in there. You can tell I've not even bothered grouping them because they've been such a waste. But we've got things that are so small they are actually the same size as the starting corvettes. So it is something that is definitely worth having the missile guidance, so going for smaller over damage. And I would actually probably swap out maybe even another one for a missile guidance one for that damage application. The sort of damage amount only comes in when you're talking about the battleships really, but after that it's not a big problem. But as you can see here, fairly decent fit as we jump back to it. We've got a wake limiter, launch efficiency configuration, adaptive defense node, and then the augmented nuclear reactor, just so that we've got the slot layout, and it seems to be running fairly fine for us. I've not got a big problem with this, and I've not actually run a Loki for a while, and I don't think, let me just check, spaceship command, what am I looking for? Minmatar, strategic cruisers. Yeah, so I am level 4. I'm not maxed out on that. So still decent. I think actually I was level 3 when I started running this a few weeks ago, but I was on and off when I did it, so I haven't really had the time to test it. But at the moment, it's not too bad. Most of my missile skills are maxed out, so it's fairly decent. A Tengu would run this. I was actually running the other day when a Tengu was trying to gank me. Not trying to gank me, they were trying to steal the site, and the Tengu seems to have heavier damage application but slightly longer reload, or like more time between firing. So it seems to be that we're roughly equal when we're putting out damage, but they manage to apply more damage to the last entity and get the can sort of snagged for them, which can be a big problem because you can lose a lot of stuff. These things here, so the Dark Blood, the Overseer Sabik, the Savant thing, Big Afterburner, and the drone, this stuff together is what actually came from one of the battleship drops for somebody else that looted it, and I literally just, as you can see here, turned off or put auto partial safety, took that, nicked their loot because they had come into my site, and then disappeared off, so they got the final station, but it wasn't a particularly good loot grab. Now I've got a problem because I've got two spawns that have jumped in at the same time, and I don't know what the second spawn is, so I'm going to have to kill a lot of stuff before the gate. But these things happen, it's good to keep an eye on what's going on, and as you can see here, there is a lot of new thing going on, but it should be okay against most of this. And on my other screen, the lovely nuggets of, what is this corporation anyways? Sinners Research and Manufacturing, part of the Outer Planets Association. They are still bouncing people off of the ice field. They are using alts to do it. It is pen blood, as per usual. Oh, has he done it? I think. Let me just get killing stuff on this side. As you can see, my cap's dropping down. Yeah, so if anybody happens to be in 9 and you are looking for targets, Outer Planets Association. It is one guy with about 15 accounts. Some of them that are, his member of Brothers of Grimm for something really pretentious. So yeah, he's a ganker slash baby pirate that likes to mess about in high sec more of the time. This is the thing that sort of got me, is like this particular Crimson Harvest has been like rude. I think that's the best way to put it. There's been so many people that have been like stealing sites off of other people as opposed to, oh sorry, I'll just move on. And then this is where I've been mining in this system for years. Every once in a while I'll put a couple of my clones onto this and I'll just set up some mining randomly if I'm doing other stuff on the computers or if I'm just doing stuff in the office. So I'll set up some mining and sort of semi-AFK mine for a while, and this guy's just sort of moved into the area with a whole load of clearly fresh accounts because he's using Covetors, Skiffs, an Orca, and a Cinnable and a Mackinac. But he's got a selection of accounts that are at various different training up levels, and the guy's mining in here all the time, but he's just always sort of being really petty. I just don't understand it. I really don't. But yeah, that's the sort of thing. If you're interested in that, rock on. I don't understand that in general, but it takes all of us. So as you can see, I've not actually finished this wave, but we do have access to the gate. So reload the missiles, get through the last section, we'll do this one quickly. Am I being so heavily webbed? What's going on here? Oh, it's because I'm being scrambled. I need to kill this guy. There we go. Something to watch out for. I'd forgotten about that. It's never actually come up before. Done a fair few of these sites, and that's the first time. So if we just have a look in the events here, you can see that we're getting sort of 20 points for each of these things. So that is destroy, halt the harvest, i.e. kill the battleship, scan down the Crimson Harvest Network node. I've not scanned any of those yet. I have been scanning, but just in God knows how many I've done, I've not come across one. So yeah. Okay, I'm no longer scrambled. Now I can go. There we go. Everybody targeted. Kill it all. So yeah, standard NPC affair. Everything pops in, everything goes for you. Obviously pick your targets. If you are a little bit newt shy, then you might want to be picking off the neuters earlier. If that doesn't matter to you, then what I'm doing, just sort of casually pop through it. It's not too bad. I'm also just winding this guy up by jumping back in and continuing to mine. So continuing to pop stuff. So we have the second wave coming in, and here's a little one that just bugs me. They're warping in. We're in a dead space pocket and they're warping in. Somebody made a little bit of a mistake there when they were talking about their spawns. They should be arriving dead on top of me if they're using the gate. I could be one of those, what is it, continuity advisor on a film set. Like, oh, by the way, you've screwed this up. My eyes twig to those things all the time. It's just mental. It's really annoying as well. I was sat, obviously decades ago, I was sat in a cinema when The Sixth Sense came out. I was still at school. And right, the first scene, I think it is, your man sat round the dinner table with his wife. And as we were sat there, I was talking to my mate. And there was like a few girls, a few lads, some of the lads going out with the girls, you know, all the sort of high school dating. And one of the lads is like talking to me sort of about one of the girls. I don't really give a shit. And I just happened to go, why she not got any, he's not got a place setting at the table. They're like, what? And I was like, he's not got a place setting at the table. And then when we get into the actual story of the film, like just as he's talking to the little girl and she says, oh, so she's dead, people. And I turned to my mate and I went, you know, I think he's dead. Oh, don't be stupid. So the whole film goes through. We get to the end of it, it turns out I'm entirely right. And everybody's looking at me going, how the fuck did you see that? I was like, I don't know. It didn't make sense that he didn't have a place setting at the dinner table. I don't know. But my eyes pick up on that stuff all the fucking time, which can get really annoying for films because for my brain it's jarring. I am aware now it's probably the ADHD, possibly autism, God knows what's going on, but either way my brain spots weird crap like that all the time. I used to have a horrendously messy room as a child, but I knew where everything was. And like my mother at one point, I still remember she came in and asked for something. And I was like, it's there under the bed behind the pile of clothes. I had like a loft bed that was slightly raised and enclosed in the bottom. I was a proper wee kid at the time. Although I'd still have a loft bed today if my wife didn't hate it. But yeah, it's like this weird sort of pile of mess, and I knew exactly where something was. It was right behind it that I hadn't touched in months. So fun and games, weird stuffs. Aha! The Harvest Overseer's here. Now, for this, once you kill the Harvest Overseer, you are gonna, what you call it? Everything else will warp off. So if something's putting cap pressure onto you, going for the Harvest Overseer is or going for the battleship, because the other side of this, it's also the other thing, but it's still a battleship that will come in. If you go for that, then it will get everything else to warp off usually, so it can alleviate a bit of pressure if you can put out that kind of damage quickly. However, in my experience, it seems to lower the loot that you get. So if you kill everything, you get more loot. So sort of save it for the last. So in this case, I'm gonna give it a pop, but obviously it is putting a bit of pressure on the cap. I'm still at 40%, so I'm fine. And I will start shooting it, and even put out some drones. However, if something else warps in, if there's another wave, which has happened to me once, then I will actually I will actually stop and switch back onto the other wave, and that seems to increase the loot. As you can see here, this loot that I mentioned earlier was loot that came from somebody else trying to steal the site, so they just went straight for the battleship when almost every other ship was still there, and I just grabbed and run. A good old smash and grab, but it's worth sort of paying attention to that, because it can be a bit of a problem. And as you can see here from the loot, we are getting like nothing off of the small ones really. Nothing on D-scan. We're in a fairly low travelled area. There's a lot of people in the system, or like a few people in the system, but this is all AFK miners and stuff like that, so not much going on. So let's have a look. What have we got in the large blood? Now after this we can also target the decloaked station. For this it's a dark, the decloaked transmitter. For this it's dark blood, but it will be something else in the other site. So I'm just going to reload before I start shooting it up. And we have about 7 million, so we have a few low tier things. Nothing particularly great. So now I'm just going to head over. I can actually pull back in a lot of cap, but as you can see, this thing can handle fairly well. Not really dropping below 40%. So I've got a reward for popping the battleship. In a little bit I should get some skill points. But I'm going to try and harvest out a whole load of this stuff. Just because it's interesting to me. As the transmission relay explodes, you detect a faint encrypted sign, so it's giving us somewhere else to go. Oh! Now most of these have been in low sec, but in this case it's giving me something better, and it's in high sec. So that is definitely worth doing. That is fantastic. However, what I am going to do is I am going to shove my ship back, and I'll do the escalation in the bigger ship. Just to open that up in the cargo container, you can see we have some of these overseer Sabic things. They can be traded away at specific places, and I cannot remember where it is off the top of my head, but most people are buying them on the market at the moment. Jeet is your best bet, but oh, tell a lie, I've got something right here and close. If I just check this, set destination, yeah, some of these are in high sec, so you can trade them at particular places, Concord assemblies and such. And you'll be able to get 1 million for them per thing, so it's always good to save them up and then sell them off, preferably on the last day of the thing or going through, but try not to save them too long, because in some cases, in some previous situations, things have expired. And pay attention, very much pay attention to your boosters and things, because you will see for some of them that the boosters have an expiry on them. See, for this, it's got an expiry date on it of January, so it's to stop them becoming too overpowered. But you'll notice that it doesn't say the expiry when you sort of hover over it, which is something I think they should do, because I've got a fair few expired boosters. So yeah, let us go and change ships and then have a look at the escalation. So I'm just on the way. I have managed to pick up my Varga, which is my mission runner, and I'll just show you the fitting at the moment. So I haven't really changed much. I've got a couple of tractor beam units using 800 repeating cannons for a little bit better for close in. I've got stasis grappler. I've got one Dreadgresta's multi-spec shield booster, shield hardener, which I usually run 2 on this particular ship. However, I've dropped one of the hardeners and I've dropped the propulsion mod, I think. I'm not sure where I put it. Oh, it's there. No, it's not. It's usually a micro warp drive, so I've dropped the 2 of them to give me more cap status. This thing can usually run for about 2 minutes on its cap. However, you don't really, for level 4 missions, it is massively overkill in the tank. And that is because we are actually running a Pith X-type large shield booster, so it can tank for days. And that's why a shorter cap, this is more of an active running ship where you actually have to pay attention and pulse the shield booster, but at the same time the guns will never turn off because they don't require any capacitor. If you're wondering about this, if you're a newer player, when you overheat modules, if you have thermodynamics and you can overheat, the heat spreads through the rack on this screen. So this is why I've actually spaced the guns out, so that the heat would spread to the other modules and sort of distribute it. If you have all your guns together, the guns will actually heat up a little bit faster. So that's where that's sort of going on. Oh, we have a Crimson Gauntlet here. I'm just going to run this on the way. Right, so I slammed into downtime, and when I came back into the site that I was in, somebody had already run the rest of it. So I was just running a couple on the way over to this, so let's start the Crimson Harvest Sanctuary. Now, I haven't had a look at this before, I haven't gone through it before. It is one of the escalations. I'm not sure if there's more than one, but let's give it a go. First I'm noticing no warp gates. So that at least should be interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately head up the way, start targeting, get my stuff on, target the rest of the things. So we've got the wee things. I'm going to let it go to, I don't know, around about 60% shield before I actually crank on the Bastion module. There we go, popping some things fairly quickly. Oh, I'm getting smacked down to a shield fairly fast. Interesting. So let's get this going. I'm not sure how quick they are going to keep cycling in. But let's kick out the MTU and target the Sage, taking out any of the Cap Newton stuff. And saving the shield capacitor just for the moment. There we go. Now, some of the things that you can get this, they are kicking out a few boosters that can't be redeemed. They are immediately active. So I do have a few things for like capacitor, web range, precision. Did last a little while, might be worth using them at some point. Earth, energy warfare resistance, so there's a few things kicking about here that have come from this. So if I do get into trouble because I've done a few of these already, then it wouldn't be too big an issue. There we go, we are getting slammed with a few things. So I'm going to go after the Prophet first because he's scramming me. 2 Prophets there. So best to have a way out if, like, just in case. Missed the 3rd Prophet, but that's fine. And the neuters are kicking in. Taking out the next Prophet before I go for the neuters. So far not too bad, everything's big enough to track. My tracking is at 12, so a little bit higher than most battleships, but at the same time not doing too bad. Funny thing is the extinguisher, what is this? Ah yeah, it's a, what do you call it, a Covops. Oof, that thing melted. Cycle on my reloads. Just in case anybody's wondering about the ammo situation, I am just using up ammo that I had in the hangar. I haven't bothered to check what is the best, the most damage. It's actually probably that, but something EM related would be a little bit better. Looking at the resistance, you can see the EM's the lowest even through the armour, then it's thermal, then kinetic, and then explosive. Oh, and the big guy's coming in. Right, so same as previous, this is worth 6.5 million instead of the 5. So I'm going to pop off the Sage first, and then have a go at this thing. So I imagine it's a little bit more cap pressure, but not much more for this particular Escalation, Harvest Sanctuary, but in general not really any bother. There we go. So grab this, claim the reward. I didn't see exactly what was in it, so let's check in here again. We have 92 million. Oh, so we got a good Dark Blood multi-spectrum energy thing, 16 mil worth of implants, and then a skin. So, not great, but not bad. Let's just snag these last 2. And I didn't pay attention and I've cycled past in a whole extra time, which is annoying. So in general, some of them are kicking out 80 to 100 million, some of them are kicking out 10 to 20 million. It's just the sort of trusting in the RNGs, as most online games require. This is a problem because I've actually targeted these things, so I'll send out my drones to harvest that. Actually, I want to target that large one and harvest that next, just to see what I'm getting. Doesn't look like we got any particularly interesting components. So scoop this and onwards. So yeah, that's the sort of rough thing that's going on at the moment. While at the moment you don't have enough time to get all of the rewards from the daily login campaign, you should be able to get a fair few of them. However, you do have enough time, well, if you're grinding it, because we all know what Eve's like, you do have enough time to grab a whole load of extra stuff. So you could fill out this bar in the next week if you're on for enough, and with the extra plex that you can get from that, that could go towards some extra game time or some skins, or just be traded for risk. So something that's a little bit useful. And then there's a few things like your extra training, cerebral accelerators. There's another one that will be dropped. So actually 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll get that one dropped when this one expires, I think. Oh no, this will expire in 2 days, then I'll get another one. So some interesting stuff that's there. Not too bad. Fairly simple, just a little bit of rudeness with people jumping into other people's stuff and sort of scamming through it. As per usual, watch out for the gankers, because there's a whole load of that stuff going on. But for the moment, I've been Alone in Finland. If you're interested in any of the stuff, Marquee Dragon's got some good things. Use code Alone in Finland, or the link down in the doobly-doo below. If you are a first time Eve player, there's a link down there that would get you an extra 1,000,000 skill points, which is around about a month, depending on how you use it, worth of skill points. So something that could get you started. If you are a new player and you are playing on Alpha, make sure you train up first. Don't use any skill points before you hit that level cap in Alpha if you're not going for Omega. And then use your skill points after that. That would be my advice. I know there's that rush to get all the new stuff and train it, but you can have just as much fun in most things, sort of with the smaller ships, the earlier ships and things like that, and leave the skill points until you get sort of locked out by the training cap for Alpha. That's my personal advice. That's the way that I would do it, and it's how I've done it for a few of the other accounts that I've got. I've got a fair few accounts that have been in Alpha and have never really been used, although my plan is to slowly train them up for some minors at some point. And then I'm currently training something on my other account that's in Omega that I'm going to be using for some of the PvP stuff and things that I go through, because I want to join the Angels faction and show you some of that side of the thing. So with that all being said, thanks for watching. Bye.